Rabbi is from, let's say,
when they play Kairach.
Korach and so on. He collated the existing verses and made it into one book. Or how can you say it's the Tehillim of Rabbi Yomelech?
It says here, even here,
it could be an anthology.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll be honest, I don't know if I have the answer for your question. Fair? Yeah, that's fair. I'm allowed to say I don't know something if it's true.
You want to answer?
No, I don't really know. Okay, let's continue. Reviewing the tefillas. I'll do research on it and let me know what the answer is.
Oh, that's probably good.
Okay. Reviewing the tefillas. There is a mitzvah upon the chazan of Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur for him to know what he's doing when he gets up there. So he has to go through the machzor and review the different prayers, the different parts. So you don't end up like I was in one shul where we didn't have any chazanim. It was in the army, so anyone who we could get to, volunteer to be the chazan was there. And in the middle of his Shmoneh Esrei, like, how did that get there? He thought it belonged to Yom Kippur. He didn't realize it's also said Rosh Hashana. So we talked in the middle of the Shmoneh Esrei, so you have to be prepared to know what's going on there. But furthermore, it's recorded in the Kaf HaChaim and Matei Ephraim that also every individual, we shouldn't get surprised. We should go through the machzor before Rosh Hashana, get used to it. Even though we do this every year, still to go through, review quickly, to get ready.
You get a little bit lost the first day, second day.
Yeah, exactly. So, get your facts straight. Okay, so that's what first it is, to review the prayers. Second halacha, correct punctuation in nusach. So we see something very interesting regarding Rosh Hashanah, 10 days of repentance, bichlal, but particularly Rosh Hashanah. It's throughout the entire 10 days, and that is that while the rest of the year, the Eibishter doesn't make such a big deal in your dikduk. You said the word this way, you said the word that way. Come on, we all know what you're intending to say. Don't make such a big deal about it. Okay? We all know what you mean to say. However, during 10 days of repentance, a Jew has to be medactic in his words. A Jew has to be very particular in how he says things. So because of this, we have literally an entire chapter in Shulchan Aruch, chapter 582, with many different cases in Achronim, discussing different nuschais of what should be said. How words should be said. Which words should you say? What should be the punctuation? For example, there's a whole discussion on, should you say lichayim toivim or lachayim toivim? Just on that, there's a whole discussion. And so, lichayim. And so on and so on. Well, just follow what it says in the machzor. There, it's written out there. They have all this. We're not going to go through this because it's all taken care of. If you're davening nusach of the Alter Rebbe, he did all the arbitrations for you there. If you daven a different nusach, then they would probably have a different arbitration than many of these machlekes. But I want to focus on something another subject within the subject, which is regarding just the punctuation itself. When you're reading in the siddur, sometimes we're not so careful to punctuate things correctly. During the Seres Mitzvah, we have to be especially careful. I'll just give one example, and we'll read some more examples from the file I have. And one example that's very, very important is I get to every single bracha that we say. And I've heard people do this, and it's unfortunate they don't know. And especially if they're being mitzi the rabbin, it's a very big problem because the bracha is invalid. Some people say, especially if you're saying quickly, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech ha'olam, asher kedishanu. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech ha'olam. What's the problem? There's no word called ha'olam.
Oh, melech.
Ha'olam. What's ha'olam? If you don't make a break between melech ha'olam, you miss the head. You connected the chaf with the ayin. Ha'olam. Chelm. Melech Chelm. So the Yisai B'Shayrish HaAvayda points out that this is a very big mistake that he's seen, and I myself have seen people do. That when you say a bracha too quickly, or at least those two words, you end up connecting the two, and it invalid. He writes the brachas invalid. He said if you said the bracha the way, you have to say it again because you missed malchus. It's not a word. You're already in Kabbalah. You're in the gematrias. Where I'm in very basic. It changes the whole meaning. You didn't say king. You didn't say world. You said something. You said another. No, that's something else. That's we don't start out with. That's something else.
Is this year round or?
This is year round, absolutely. But I'm just saying, since on Hashana Yom Kippur, 10 days, we pay more attention. This is an example of things that people make a mistake. I'll give some more examples that he writes here in Yisod B'Shar Sha'aveda. He was known as the Chassid before Chassidus. He lived in the 1700s.
Who's this?
The author of the Yisod B'Shar Sha'aveda. Forgot his name, but a very spiritual, pious individual. So he gives another few examples. He says another example is Shema Yisrael. If you say it too quickly, meaning you don't say Shema Yisrael, you'll end up saying Shema Israel, like the word Israel. In other words, the Ayin and Yud become one, Israel. That's not a word. That's not a word in Lashon HaKodesh. Now, on the other hand, you can say, if you say Shema in English, you're also Yetzi, so I said that translation of Yisrael. I said Israel, but you lost the Shema, because you lost the Ayin of Shema. So either way, it's no good. Another example he gives is, anytime a person says Hashem Elokeinu, I'm not going to say the name, but we don't say Hashem, we say Ad, etc. So if you say it quickly, it ends up being Adonai Yelokeinu. Yelokeinu. What's Yelokeinu?
Yellow canoe. Yellow canoe.
That's like the flag. That's where they got the flag.
Exactly.
Yellow canoe.
They don't have the flag here, but yes, they do. A lot of them put the flag here to point this out.
I'm supposed to say Shema. You say Shema is doubt, as opposed to Shema is listen here.
Say that again?
In the Gemara, the Shema Ulai, maybe it's
Oh,
Ulai.
yes. Right, so that's called, very good. I'll talk about that in a moment. That's called Miluram L'il. But this is another example here of where the person connects it. And so this all comes from not taking the time to properly verbalize. So while during the year we can say, let's give Bimalam Tzchus. Hashem says they're all brachas levatas. Let's Bimalam Tzchus. The Eibishter understands. He understands we're hurrying to work. We have all these things with so much stress in our minds. So we get used to saying things quickly. But seriously, make tshuva has to be especially careful to verbalize things properly. So there's a whole list here of examples. I can spend the whole class on it. I'm not going to. But I'm just saying that you have to pay attention that every word is verbalized properly when it is said. And the reason for this is because the reason why they made such a big deal about during the Sesame Tshuva is because the words have an effect. Meaning, as much as we care about it's the desire and thought that counts, the words are what are it's building malchus. Words, it says malchus is dibur, speech.
And actually,
So
what
our
we say
speech-
during those 2 days,
Yeah.
like sitting in a meal on
Yeah, exactly. So therefore, it's not enough to have a good intent. We have to have a correct and proper punctuation. And you mentioned another diktuk issue, which is called milah versus mila'il. Milah versus mila'il is the following. Where do you, milah versus mila'il? It's in diktuk. Where do you put the emphasis? Do you put it in the beginning of the word, mila'il, or at the end of the word, milah? For example, there's a pasuk in Chumash, which talks about the captives returning. So if you read it, shuva, it means to return. If you read it, shuva, it means captive. Meaning if you put the emphasis on the shud, it means that the people became captive, the opposite of returning from captivity. So it has two completely different meanings depending on how you put the emphasis.
The Israeli pronunciation is Milua.
Depends for which word. They have words milah and words mila'il.
So what about Shema? What we
You
should
say
say?
Baruch
Shema.
Atah or Baruch Atah?
Shema.
Israeli would say Baruch Atah.
It's not Shema. It's not maybe.
Shema.
It's not Shema. Yeah.
Shema Yisrael.
Yeah. But this is already advanced. Like Milaram Mila'il. Most people.
There's a difference in Israeli emphasis. Israeli, we would say Baruch Atah, like a Baruch Atah. So the emphasis is on the second syllable.
But no, they changed the kamats for a patach.
At Zedam,
It's like saying Ata or Atom.
Okay, tough. That was okay. We understand the points. Thank you. Oh, well, it depends how you say it in English. I once had someone ask me on the table, "Could you please pass the tuna?" I didn't know what he meant. The what? You see? The tuna.
Oh, the tuna.
The tuna. We wanted the tuna.
Some who can't read Hebrew.
Accent on the syllable.
No, we spoke about it before. Tell him has to be said in religion. Hebrew.
You want to just finish one pill in the whole night.
Doesn't matter. It's not the amount that counts. It's the dedication, the emotion. Has to be emotional kodesh.
The equal is not a common.
Shir Amalis, Mimamakim Kurasich Hashem. This is the famous Kapitel Tehillim, it's Kapitel 120, which one is it? Shemas Mamakim. What did I write here?
27.
Whatever.
We are up and running again with more viewers.
Okay, good. Okay, so the Kapitel of Shir Amalis, I think it's Kuf Lamed actually. I think it's 130. Yeah, am I right? I didn't check. Doesn't matter. It's okay. It doesn't matter. It is what it is. The Kapitel of Shir Amalis Mamakim, we customarily say throughout the entire source of Tshuva, in between Yishtabach and Baruch Hu. Why do we say this? What's the source of it? Is there anyone that doesn't say it? So let's begin. So the first source that actually entered this statement into an official siddur was yours truly, the Alter Rebbe. Alter Rebbe was the first one who made this kapitel part of the davening, and today everyone does it.
Yeah.
Yes, but well, let me. That was I emphasized.
As a source.
It wasn't
It was in the Tehillim. It was always in Tehillim.
No,
It wasn't in between. No, the first siddur to print it in between was the Alter Rebbe.
What's the source?
But the source of the Alter Rebbe is the Arizal. The Arizal writes it's written in Kisvei Arizal, and the Magen Avraham brings it another poskim that between Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur, so Mitzvah is supposed to share Amalis between Yishtabach and Yitzhar. And the Magen Avraham brings this and says, I don't really agree with this. I don't like this custom so much. No, he was a big fan of the Arizal, but he was a halacha. So when he has to call something off, he has to. So he said like this, listen, davening, okay, you're not allowed to make a hefsek in the middle of davening. Right. You want to make up the cut to say Shir Amalis at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, no problem. But in the middle of davening, you can't make a hefsek. If somebody suddenly gets an urge of spirituality in the middle of Shemoneh Esrei and he takes out a table and starts saying it, he's doing it in favor. He's doing something terribly wrong. Control your rasa, delay it a little bit. You can't do it at this time. So he says, you're not going to make a hefsek. So how can we just start saying kapitel chatel in the middle of davening? That's his taina. Bottom line is that the Alter Rebbe ruled that we do say it, and from the Alter Rebbe it made it to the Mateh Ephraim, and from the Mateh Ephraim made it to Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch made it to the Mishnah Berurah, and practically today almost all segments of Jewry say this, with exception to a small pocket of Ashkenazi Jewry, of Lithuanian Jewry, who till today don't say the Shir Amalis because of the Magen Avraham, because of that issue that you mentioned. So that is the debate that there is regarding it. Now, why do we say it? Why did the Arizal say, let's say this during the 10 days, let's throw out this kapitel specifically at this time? So before I go into that, I just want to mention a few halachic details regarding this. It's brought down. If the congregation has reached Shir Hamalis and you are not yet there by davening and you're still in the middle of Sukkot Zimra, then you should stop and say it with them.
Really?
Yes. You should stop and say it with the congregation.
If you're in the Azia Shir?
Correct. Stop and say it with them.
Yeah.
And then when you get to Yishtabach, you say it again. So rules, yes, you say it twice. So rules the Mateh Ephraim. Yeah, that's a good idea. Get a sitter, please. No, in the middle, you have to finish Baruch Shamar. Okay. I mean, between after Baruch Shamar and Yishtabach. Okay. If you're ready in Yishtabach, ready in Baruch Shamar, then, you have to finish that first.
This is the halacha.
This is the halacha, yes.
What we do.
This is what we do. This is the halacha. As the if you're ready after Baruch Hu, if you pass the minyan, then no, you can't interrupt. I agree. But I'm saying if you're before, you're behind them. Yes, right here. Yes. Okay. So this is what we're talking about.
You already started to block me.
Okay, now what's the reason why we do it? So the reason is, of course, according to Kabbalah, that is you're saying for these guys. Right here. This is the Shir Amalis that we say. Some communities have the custom of Kufan.
Verse by verse.
It's very easy to remember. How to remember. Some communities have the custom of saying it verse by verse, and they open the Aron. We don't do that. Yeah, they make a big deal about it. The Ashkenazi communities who took this, they ran with it all the way. They took this minhag all the way. So they open up the Aron and they say it verse by verse. We don't. We don't open up the Aron. We just regularly. Yeah, everybody says Vaisel.
All Sfadim say.
Yes, I believe Sfardim do. Yes, Sfardim say it. I mean, it's from the Kisvei Arizal. It's from the Kisvei Arizal, and the Sfardi place can bring it down. So, usually the rule is whenever the Arizal held of something, the Sephardim were the first to take that up. We were the slackers. The Ashkenazim were the ones who took some time to get there. Okay, so the Kabbalistic reason why it's said. So it's explained the following, that the Arizal, first we'll say what the Arizal says, and I'll go into what explains Chassidus. The Arizal says that there are 10 levels of oimik, depths of spirituality in the world of Atzilus, and they have a corresponding level of gevura to them. Meaning the following: oimik means depth, which represents a very high, sublime level of elikus and godliness. Every day we try to draw one down, but corresponding to that, we have 10 gevuras, 10 levels of gevura. So we got to first knock out the gevura, and then we can allow the oimik to come. Otherwise, the gevura won't let it. So he says that every day that we say Shir Hamas from Meseres Tshuva, it knocks down one of those gevuras. It sweetens the gevuras. It's mamtik gevuras, and that allows this revelation, which helps building of the sphere of Malchus to occur. So it's very so he says that the saying of this mizmar is extremely fundamental to the building of Malchus for the coming year, and it only works right here. The Arizal, unlike the halacha is, he wasn't just looking at prayer from the halachic perspective. He was looking at it in the upper world. It says what it's the ladder of prayer in the world, and he saw this is the perfect spot. This is where it happens. In between Yishtabach and Yotzar, this is where it happens. We have this ability to fix the issue with Gvura of the Aimek and help bring it down. In Chassidus, there's many Maimarim of Chassidus on this mizmar of Shir Hamas Me'amakim, and in what's explained in general in the Maimarim is as follows: that when a person sins, every sin either blemishes a sphera or causes a lack of light in the sphera. Either way, there's something wrong with the sphera. How do we fix the problem? How do we fix the situation? So in order to do this, we need to do tshuva. How does tshuva fix it? Because what tshuva is meant to do is reach a depth of the soul that's connected with a depth of godliness above. And that's like digging deeper into a well that became stopped of its water. And when you dig very deep, eventually you get a huge gush of water back, even stronger than before. And that's what we're trying to do. We want to bring out from the depths of the soul in order to fill up the coffers of the spheres that have been lacking their spirituality due to sin. And that's what's expressed during this mizmar of Shir Hamas Me'amakim. Okay, our next change of davening that occurs during the 10 days of repentance, Kaddish. In Kaddish, whoever says Kaddish, whether you're the Yortzeit, Chazan, doesn't matter why you're saying Kaddish, we conclude in Kaddish Shalem with the words HaShalom. Similarly, we also in the Shemona Esrei conclude Eisa HaShalom. Benching stays the same. We don't change the HaShalom in benching. We don't say Eisa Shalom B'Imrayim. We say the regular Eisa Shalom. But in Kaddish and Shemona Esrei, we change it. Now, changing it in Shemona Esrei has a source, the Arizal. We'll get to that later. But changing it in the end of Kaddish does not really have a source. Its source is the Alter Rebbe. That is the source. We don't have any prior source that we uncovered yet of that. But nonetheless, many people do this. Many Ashkenazim, not the whole world. Sephardim only do it by Kaddish Teskabel.
Really?
Yeah, they only say Hashem by Kaddish Teskabel. Also, not all Ashkenazim do it. So let me give you a little understanding of how something in the Alter Rebbe can spread to the whole with all Ashkenazi Jewry. The Mata Ephraim was considered the greatest Paisik for these halachas of Rosh Hashana and Kippur. He was a famous Paisik. He lived after the Alter Rebbe, and he brought down a lot of the Alter Rebbe's rulings. Now, the Mishnah Brura and the Kids Shulchan Aruch brought down a lot of the Mata Ephraim's rulings. So once it's written there, it became halacha for all Jewry pretty much. Sephardim is a different story for Ashkenazim. So that's why we all do this, but Sephardim only do it, as I said, by Kaddish Teskabel. Now, why do we do it? What's with this hay? What's this hay all about? Come on, is one little hay going to make such a difference? Right, so hay does represent Malchus, but it's actually not the reason brought down. The reason brought down in Kisvei Arizal is as follows. As much as we need to do tshuva and we need to speak directly to God and make amends, etc., we also need, in order to be successful, we don't have a mashal from this world. To be successful in this world in the mishpat, as they say as a joke, my opponent hired a lawyer who knows the case very well. I hired a lawyer who knows the judge very well. And we need to give a little bit of bribery. We need a little bit of bribery. And the hay serves as this bribery to get us a good deal. How? So Arizal says, the gematria of Eisa HaShalom is the malach called Safriel Hamalach. Who is Safriel Hamalach? He's the one writing everything down. He's the Sofer. Safriel. So we throw him in the Kaddish and Shemoneh Esrei, and you remember me, I remember you remember me. It's a good deal, and that's what he writes. It's a little bit of a. Now, obviously, we can't take this to the wrong,
How is the hay related to that?
It creates a gematria, a numerical value of Safriel Hamalach.
What about the La'ela?
We'll get that's next. We're still on Isa Hashana.
Why don't we do it in Benjamin?
I don't know. It's just, the real question is why do we do it in Kaddish? There's no source. Al-Tzemach wrote it. For whatever reason, Al-Tzemach didn't write to change it in benching. I guess it could be the Malachim really don't get anything out of benching. They get something out of Kaddish.
They don't eat.
I don't know. Okay, Ula. So it's recorded in the Paiskin. Many Paiskin bring this, the Magen Avram and Al-Tzemach in his own Shulchan Aruch, that during Asar Shemei Tshuva, you should say La'ela Ula in Kaddish. And this is the custom of all Ashkenazi Jewry. They say La'ela Ula throughout the Kaddashim, all the Kaddashim that they say throughout the 10 Asar Shemei Tshuva. The Chabad custom, based on Al-Tzemach and the Siddur, is not to do so.
Why?
In the Shulchan Aruch, he wrote like everybody else, we say it, and then in the Siddur, he wrote we don't. He just didn't write that we do, which means we don't. Yeah, he didn't write.
A lot of arguments you go through.
Only by Ne'ilah of Yom Kippur, yes. And that's not written in the Siddur, that's based on Chabad tradition. But this wasn't very well known. In previous generations in Chabad, they didn't say it ever, not even Ne'ilah. We received a directive, Rebbe Riyad sent the Rebbe to do it by Ne'ilah, so that's what we do. But other than that, we don't say Le'ilah anywhere else. What's the reason? Let me just elaborate on the reason why we don't change it is because this is based on what's explained in the Kaf Chaim and other sources, Sha'ar Koil and others, that Kaddish is meant to have exactly 28 words corresponding to the word Koyach. If you change it, you add another word, you lost the Koyach.
You lost the Koyach.
Yeah. So that's why we don't do it.
Why doesn't the rest of the world?
Maybe the other place can be brought down are not such Kabbalists, and not such into the Kabbalah.
They do it because the author wrote it to do it. And they're doing it, but we're not doing it because there's another reason.
We said the Siddur, the Al-Tzemach and the Siddur didn't make a difference. Okay. Anyways, that's regarding
What
Kaddish.
is 20 words? The whole Kaddish?
The whole Kaddish 28. Yeah, the half Kaddish. The half
Kaddish.
We do hold by the hay though, so that is changing.
That's a
Not changing
letter,
a
not a
word.
word. It's a letter,
Okay.
not a word, and it's after the main part of Kaddish. That's the end of Kaddish.
What don't we do? What we have?
We don't say La'ela Ula'ela. But if you're davening in a shul that they
Everyone
say
else
it,
does
Yes, so what do you do?
don't change from the custom.
I don't.
No,
I
you gotta
done
do.
from,
No, you gotta
when I was
do.
doing my year of Availus, and I doubted from the phone. I didn't.
You didn't change
I
it?
didn't say.
La'ela
I
Ula'ela?
didn't.
And they didn't send you La'ela?
No,
You want
they-
the chazan?
Yeah.
Let you know.
In some shuls, if you start up,
They correct you. They say, where
No, they didn't do anything. with me.
okay, no problem.
this wasn't in the
Not about shul for Rosh Hashana. Do you go by just read the Siddur? or
No,
do
you
try to do
absolutely,
it?
you read whatever is in your siddur, yes. But anything that's done in public, you should do like that, sure. If you're like gonna be the chazan.
Yeah.
If you say Kaddish yourself.
So you could say without Leila, but I just want to be practical. There shouldn't be
Right.
friction.
Like the Sfari, when I say Kaddish,
Our shul is
the
pretty lenient on that.
shul Sfari, I'll say the regular, our
I mean, I down out of my
Right.
city. There's a lot of
because
stuff
it's
on-
hard for me to.
Sfardim,
Yeah.
Sfardim do say. Everyone else says it. Sfardim also.
Okay.
Is that true? The Sfardim also say?
That's what you just said. I heard it from you.
I don't know.
The Kaf Chaim brings not to do it, so I'm assuming. No, he writes that Sfardim don't say it. We and the Sfardim are the same on this. Sfardim don't say it according to what the Kaf Chaim writes.
Also Nila.
Yeah, they don't say it at all. Yeah. Okay. Changes in the Amida. We're now going to begin our Melech HaKadosh, our Melech HaMishpat, all of these different changes. So it's brought down that in Shemoneh Esrei Asar Shemei Tshuva, Anshe Knesset Agdela instituted. Then instead of saying Melech HaKadosh, a person is required to say HaMelech. Instead of saying Akel HaKadosh, a person is required to say HaMelech HaKadosh.
Who instituted that? You just said?
Anshe Knesset.
It's a very
Did anybody ever argue with them?
So that means they are the ones who instituted prayer. This prayer book was written by them. They are the official authors. I know their names don't get written here as the authors, but they are the ones who wrote this book. And every sitter. They're the ones who founded the Nusach of prayer, Anshe Knesset Gdola. Everybody. All of our differences are very minute. They are the ones who created the general ingredients. And therefore, if anyone who changes the prayer, the dialect prayer that they chose, didn't pray. So in Hashana and Kippur, when they said you have to say Melech HaKadosh, if you didn't, in essence, you didn't pray.
Go back and repeat it.
So what's the halach? So the halach is that if I said, oops, I don't say the word oops, but in the mind, I have 2 to 3 seconds to fix it right away. This is called Teich Kadei Dibur, within the amount of time to say Shalom Alecha Rabbi. Now, back in the day, people used to say it slowly, Shalom Aleichem Rabbi. Then, after some generations, start saying Shalom Aleichem Rabbi. And today, they don't even say it. They don't even say it at all. But in any event, it's about 2-3 seconds. It's not very long. Okay, it's about 2-3 seconds. You have to fix yourself. If you didn't fix it on time, across family, you said, "Baruch Hashem HaKel HaKadosh." 1 second, where are we? Serves me tshuva. Hamelach HaKadosh is too late. It's too late already. It's too late. You have to go back to the beginning. Furthermore, another case, if you were speeding, even if you're Shlich Tzibur, yes. Even if you're the Chazan. Now, what if you were speeding in Zalus and you said, "Baruch Hashem HaKel HaKadosh"? You were speeding. You said, "Baruch Hashem HaKel HaKadosh." And everyone says, Melech HaKadosh. Once you began the next bracha, back you go. You can only make it up within 2-3 seconds before beginning the next bracha. So that's quite a simple halacha. You have very little ability to make it up. If you didn't make it up, you just go back to the beginning. Now what happens if you don't remember? I'm already in Maidan or Sim Shalom. I'm like, did I say Melech HaKadosh? What did I say?
Too late.
So you go back.
So the halacha is that when in doubt, we assume you did like your normal time, which is Hakel HaKadosh. So you have to go back to the beginning of Shemona Esrei. When in doubt. Now this,
complete though.
Even if you don't remember.
so this begins creating mind games.
Because you don't remember.
So this creates mind games because sometimes you really do say Melech HaKadosh, but we have very short-term memory today. By the time we get to, Ritzei, or even earlier, we begin starting to doubt ourselves about something we for sure said earlier. So it begins to become very tricky. That's why I suggest the following. First of all, you should just mark. Say it out loud. Say it a little louder than usual. Emphasize it. Baruch Atah Hashem HaMelech HaKadosh. Not out loud, because you can't say Shemona Esrei out loud, but just a little louder, emphasize it more than usual, in order so you make sure that you remember and not enter yourself into Sfeikus in the future. Another idea that someone told me is you just record your document. Once there was a chuppah, it was a joke. A very chashuv Rav was Masada condition, and someone noticed in the kahal that he skipped one of the brachas of the Shabbat brachas. Back then, it used to be a lot of the Rabbanim would say all Shabbat brachas. They were good to say.
Some people do it now.
Okay, fine. So someone said you missed one of the brachas, and he said it's not impossible. I don't believe it. He said I'm an Eidach, and I'm telling you, I heard you miss one of the brachas. He said I don't believe you're an Eidach. So they looked at the video and said I missed it. He didn't believe himself.
What did he do?
He redid the bracha. They regathered the minyan. They took the chassan kala back from the yichud. Come back. They're not ready yet.
It's good to have those videos.
But that's the videos. But
What's that?
Is it the same halacha regarding the Melech HaMishpat?
so that's regarding a calculation. Regarding a Melech HaMishpat, things get a little different. Let me see what time it is. Okay, we'll just finish a Melech HaMishpat. So it's as follows. We get to, how you said you're a Kel HaKadosh, no doubts, everything's good. You reach now a Shiva Sheftin for Hashana, everything's going great. Baruch Atah Hashem, Melech HaYitzchak HaMishpat. Anshe Knesset Gdola said, you got to change it to a Melech HaMishpat. You didn't change it. What's the din? A major debate in the Rishonim. One group of Rishonim, including the Rambam and the Rif, say it's no good. The sages said this is the new prayer for 10 days of repentance. You didn't say it. Go back to here if you remembered on time. Meaning, if you remembered right away within the 2-3 seconds,
Go back to the beginning.
if you remember within 2-3 seconds before you continue, then just fix it. Say Amelech HaMishpat, just like I said before by Amelech HaKadosh. But if you continued already, or entered into doubt later on, or remembered later on that you didn't say it, then you either have to go back to here, or if you already finished Manasseh, go back to the beginning again. That's the first approach.
Go back to where?
Shiva
Back to the
Sheftei.
beginning of the bracha.
If you recall with Inshman Asrei, before you finish, they say go back to here.
You don't have to go to the whole beginning.
Only if you finish Manasseh already. If you finish Manasseh already, then you can't just go back over here.
Right.
After you start, you must do
Yes.
three steps.
Anytime it's one answer, you can go back to Shiva.
Yes, anytime it's Manasseh, while you finish Manasseh, but this is just one approach.
Oh, this is not our opinion.
This is the Rambam and the Rif. Now, you probably like the Rambam, but we don't get to choose opinions of who we like. It doesn't work that way. So that's one approach. That's the approach of the Mechaber and Shulchan Aruch. That's how he rules. And then we have the opinion of the Taisvis, the Aruch, and others who say no. Since over here in this blessing, you anyway say the word Melech, it's not such a big deal. You didn't make such a big change. So instead of HaMelech, you said Melech. And you added a few more words. Ayiv Tzedakah. So it's not such a big deal. It's not like the HaMelech HaKadosh. So therefore they said, you're Yaitse, and that's how the Ramah rules. So we have the Ashkenazim, the Ramah ruling that it's okay, and the Sephardim, the Mechaber ruling that it's not okay. Now, if you think that the Machlekes is over, it's not over. We have here a major debate of what to do. Even Ashkenazim hold of the Rambam of the Mechaber, and even the Sephardim understand by Safek brachas it's very serious to go ahead and say a bracha again if you don't have to. But because of this, we have the following arbitrations. The Alter Rebbe rules in the Shulchan Aruch that Safek brachas lahak, which means because the Ramah rules the way he does, and we follow his ruling, and many Rishonim rule that way. If you didn't say Amelech HaMishpat and you already continued the Lam Shinim, you didn't remember on time, finish Manasseh, finish regularly, and then go back to the beginning and daven again as an adava, as a present.
The whole thing again.
The whole thing. As you're allowed to daven in a voluntary prayer. Even now, right now, if I want to daven, I can daven Manasseh of Mara 5 times. No, not if you're Shlech Tzibur. I agree with you. I'm saying in your private prayer.
Safek bracha.
Yeah, it's not a suffix because I'm repeating Shemana as an adava, as a present. It's like giving a present to God.
Saying Hashem's name and everything.
Yeah, it's an adava. But this time, make sure to remember to say Amelech HaMishpat.
Or do it again if you don't.
No, you can. That's the whole point. A bracha levatala is only when you're saying a blessing that you're not allowed to say unless you're obligated. But Shemana Esrei, you're only not allowed to repeat Shemana Esrei if your intent is to repeat it for the obligation. But if my intent is to repeat it for the sake of a present, as a voluntary, it's like a carbon. I have to bring a carbon oila every day. So you can't bring a new carbon oila just because of a doubt. But if I say, okay, God, this is not a carbon oila, this is a present, this is a shlamim. You're allowed to bring a shlamim. This is called an adar.
Some say it's not very good to do that.
Correct. So we don't generally say, well, I'm going to daven Shemana 30 times today. Because halavai should pay attention to the first bracha of your first Shemana Esrei, and then talk about the second bracha, and then talk about a future Shemana Esrei. So that's why we say it's better. In other words, it's like you can't even get the first present right. You're going to talk about the second and third. So that's why in general we don't do nadavas. But here we're doing it for a reason, to get out of this balagan. So that's Ashkenaz, and that's how we rule.
And that's only according to the Ramah, the second opinion that you're hanging up where we rule, not the way we rule, is only, you can catch it in the first 2 seconds though. You can,
everyone agrees catch
you
it.
can catch it before the end of the it's only if you went.
Correct, pass, exactly, or you wait too long. Now by the Sephardim, it's even a bigger balagan. Why? Because the Ben Ish Chai, the Chidah, and others all say, even though the Mechaber ruled, like the Rambam, it's no good, you have to go back to the beginning, Hashiva, or beginning of Shemana Esrei, depending on where you remember. Even to the Mechaber we say, with all due respect, Safek brachas lahak. As much as we Sephardim accepted the Maran's ruling, not by blessings. By blessings, we are super scared. And if we have all these Rishonim on the Ramah side saying not to say it, we're not going to say it. That's how the Ben Ish Chai rule, that's how the Kaf Chaim rule, that's how the Chidah rule. And so you have many Sephardim throughout the generation who would do just like Ashkenazim. They wouldn't repeat. Until Rabbi Yosef came along and said, no, we Sephardim have to be proud and not scared of anybody else. And if the Mechaber ruled a certain way, we go with it in fire and water. We go in it all the way. So it's a major machlokes still today. Every year they have different Sephardi Alonim, Shabbos before Rosh Hashana. And every year they put up this machlokes. One of them rules one way, the other one rules the other way. Every year they go back and forth on this. But this is so the Sfardim will leave it to them to decide what to do. But definitely Ashkenazim, as I said, in Shulchan Aruch he rules daven again as in Adam. Next week we will continue with Zechreinu. We will continue with the additions of Zechreinu, the Chayid, and other additions in Shemin Esrei. Next Tuesday.
So when are we gonna get Sukkot?
Okay, so you want to bring up what you wanted to talk about?
Because it says